Drunken here. Just going to do a quick intro before we get stuck into it. This video is about how the Codex Astartes, I believe, came to be. I'm not going to say it's 100% factual because no one has the full facts, only the people involved do. If you have something to say and you're mentioned in this video, then yeah, by all means, write something because I'd like to get it sorted straight. But for you who are watching this, you can piece together. You're going to have to stick with the beginning to realize how it all pans out in the end, which is going to take some explaining. And then this is not a Games Workshop bashing video. This is just laying it out how I believe it has happened. And I collect Games Workshop stuff. I don't really buy a lot of their stuff, but I still buy stuff from them. I don't hold any grudges. So let's just begin, shall we? And just bear with me, please. And yeah, let's go. Games Workshop back in the 80s. That's where we start. First off, they weren't as big as they are now. They were actually competing, I think smaller at that time, to companies like Ralpatha, which still exists, by the way, in the sort of miniatures department. That said, they were using third parties at this stage, not just Games Workshop / Citadel. And Citadel was actually more into the miniatures than the paints as it is now. They're not. Now it's like two separate entities. Citadel does paints, Games Workshop does miniatures. It used to be Citadel did more of the miniatures, I think, by what I've seen. If you look at all the images and stuff, because a lot of these images are from Stuff of Legends, and I do suggest you check it out. Anyway, so here's the list of the miniatures companies that they used to source off. We got Marauders, Ironclaw, a few others. Grenadier is an example. I think they're American as well, but they also had quite a substantial English presence. Anyway, these companies, Games Workshop started to get a bit more successful, and it started assimilating these companies into Games Workshop. Just a side note, Citadel is actually a real castle. It's a bit offshoot here, but here's a picture of the actual castle. It's a New York castle. It's just been fantasized up. But so Citadel is probably the only company, if you like, to actually stay a part of the sort of old relics, if you like, of the 80s. So what am I getting at here is that these Games Workshop became more successful, and because of their success, the sculptors of these miniatures, I'll just name a few of these people: Bob Ollie, who designed the squats and the zotes, which are like an offshoot of Tyranids. You got Rick and Alan Perry, who I believe designed a lot of the humans, because a lot of the source material says designed by Citadel Miniatures, because at the time Citadel was like owned all the it was one company at the time, and there is a few with their name planted on those pictures. Kevin Adams, who designed most of the orcs and things. I think Bob Ollie did a bit of that too, and they also did the fantasy, so skeletons, orcs, that sort of thing. So, and Jez Goodwin, who designed most of the Eldar and Space Marines. I probably won't go and mention her anymore, but she's basically stayed with Games Workshop through till today and helps out supervising and stuff. So yes, and before I continue, this isn't a bashing Games Workshop video. I'm laying out the information of how the Codex Astartes came to be. So anyway, these miniature sculptors, they wanted more money because Games Workshop becoming more successful. Games Workshop says, no, I do believe. And they're like, well, I'll give you the finger and I'll do my own thing. And I'll take all my material that's mine and go somewhere else. Which they have. I'll show you some of that later. But this leaves Games Workshop in a bit of a pickle. Because, for one, most of their alien or Xenos are all from them. Yeah. So that's why the squats don't exist anymore, by the way. And that's why Zotes got killed off. And most of the Imperial Guard, sort of, you know, Valhallans and things, they struggle to keep that. It's a long lost grey water area, if you like, and Games Workshop keep testing the puddle a lot with the stuff because it's quite old. A lot of these guys are quite old now, but that's the idea. But that's why they created the sacred tome, the Codex Astartes, because what happens is that they can create new chapters, new stories, etc. They don't have to rely on the Imperial Guard, the Horus Heresy chapters, even though now they've got enough money to sort of do what the hell they want. But back then, I don't think they had that. The financial backing, if you like, that the consumers have given them. So that's how the Codex Astartes came to be, pretty much. The hidden story, if you like, is because they had to revamp the whole thing, which was 3rd edition. And that's why the aesthetic change in all your miniatures from this sort of funny sitcom orcs and stuff to these like serious brutish things, and the same with all the rest. Like, I mean, Necrons and all those and Tau, they're all new, but I mean, they had a few miniatures, the sort of unknown thing, but that's what I mean. The whole aspect of the game changed because of this sort of hidden row, if you like, between the sculptors and the company, because they had to change what they were doing. So, what happened to these guys? Well, Bob Ollie has his own little company. I don't think he's making miniatures. Well, he makes miniatures, but I don't think he's selling anymore in his shop. But you can check out. There's some pictures for him. Rick and Alan Perry, they're doing English Civil War, you name it, historicals. They're doing all that. And they're being very successful. And Kevin Adams, he's, I believe, with Foundry, Wargames Foundry, a very nice company. I buy a lot of miniatures from them. And just as a final note, that's probably why we've seen another sort of culling, if you like, and why Games Workshop is very particular about copyright. It's because of this. And this is why the Bretonians went, because of they can't copyright. There's some sort of clause in the UK. You cannot copyright folklore of King Arthur, etc. So that's why Bretonia went. And Tomb Kings is a bit more grey, but I think it's because they didn't sell that well, and two, which I think is just because they didn't advertise properly, not because they weren't great models. They just weren't supporting fantasy. That's my opinion. But they also went because they can't really do anything with Egypt. Okay, it's like very sort of Egyptian-y, the Mummy, if you like, and they're trying to steer away. That's why they created the Space Sigmarines, because it's their own IP. No one's going to copy that. I don't think anyone would, because they look disgusting. But yes, that's why they exist. So there you are. That's the story, if you like. And I know it's a bit of a drag, but it all has to be sort of laid out there. And I like to give mention to these guys that have they've built the foundations of the Games Workshop that you know today. But, you know, people still, for some bizarre reason, think historicals are for old people and stuff, when it's like, without them, the Games Workshop would not be where it is today. So, but that's not what this video is about. It was about the Codex Astartes, and that's how I believe it came to be. So I hope you enjoyed it. You can make your own opinion. I'm not here to win anyone over. I just put it out there because that's what I believe. I'd rather you subscribe to me, obviously, but, you know, I'd rather you just go away if you don't like me, because I don't need it. I'm too lazy to put up with your nonsense, and I try to get back to people who are respectful, and I don't mind a good banter as well, if it's civil. And finally, if you are one of the people I have mentioned and you want to correct me, by all means, just, you know, write something, and I'll make sure that that gets put up. I'll amend it if you like. But yes, you can check out all these websites, all the companies I've mentioned and stuff for yourself. And yeah, I hope you liked watching my video, and thanks for watching.